I wanted to ask you if peace is ever possible and achievable between the two states.
Yes.
Right.
If the international community take the
Decisive,
suffering
yeah.
of Palestinians seriously, if they just try for once to take the suffering of Palestinians seriously, get together around the table, war is not the solution. Negotiation is the solution.
Yeah.
This is the only way we can achieve a settlement around the table.
Today, we delve into the topic of Israeli aggression and its recent attacks on Gaza. Given the profound historical complexities and intricate dimensions, Shuxiang, we are honored to be joined by the Palestinian ambassador, His Excellency Walid Abu Ali, to help us unpack and foster a nuanced understanding of the situation. Before we get into it, Ambassador, from all of us at MCA, we would like to extend our deepest condolences and sympathies to the Palestinian people for the ongoing tragic events. Even as we speak, it's happening, and including the bombing that happened last week at the Al Ali Hospital. Our hearts go out to those affected by this devastating incident, and we stand with you in solidarity and the victims and their families in this difficult time.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you all, and I'm honored and grateful that you invited me to come and update and brief you on the latest developments on what is still going in Gaza, what's still going in the West Bank, what's still going in Jerusalem, all over Palestinian territories. And again, I highly appreciate your sympathy. I highly appreciate your support and your solidarity.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Yes, Quinner, and Malaysia has consistently expressed our solidarity with the Palestinian cause, and of course, we supported the establishment of an independent Palestinian state forever. We have historically been critical of Israel's illegal occupation, its policies towards Palestinian people, and of course, we have been very consistent in calling for a peaceful solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. I remember, Ambassador, back in 2016, Malaysia initiated a resolution in the United States calling for immediate cessation of casualties and also urging the world community to support the two-state solution. I think that is also inconsistent with the recent remarks from our Malaysian leaders, including Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, our MCA president, Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong. They have expressed their disappointments and unanimously called for immediate cessation and called for peaceful settlement. I think this has been Malaysia's consistent view and stance all this while. And maybe for our audience, many have not really aware of what is going on, especially in recent attacks that involve Al Ahli Hospital and a deadly explosion that blasted, thousands of people died. These casualties means a lot in humanitarian point of view. So we thank you, Ambassador, and we look forward in this very meaningful engagement.
Thank you very much. And let me start with just re-emphasize me as an ambassador representing my people in Malaysia, just to make it clear that Malaysia always, regardless of which political party run the show in Malaysia, regardless which politicians is speaking about Palestine, I think and I believe as well that the Palestinian cause unite all Malaysians. Whenever there are differences among Malaysians, when the issue of Palestine is brought on the table, all Malaysians are supportive. All Malaysians show their support to the Palestinian cause. So no one can question the ongoing support of Malaysians to Palestine. You mentioned the UN Resolution 2334. I think that's a credit that we have in our hearts for Malaysia and the three other countries who had shared with Malaysia passing through that resolution in General Assembly at the United Nations. And we will always remember that, because for once, at least, the General Assembly had looked to Palestine and the Palestinians through two eyes, and they had appreciated the suffering of our Palestinian people. Our struggle in the Middle East started 1948, 15th of May, when the United Nations recognized Israel. We were under the British mandate at that time, and British had given Israel what we still witness and believe, the Balfour Promise, which enabled Jews to create Israel. But let me make it clear to all viewers, to all Malaysians, and all those who can see us today, our struggle never been a religious struggle, because Jews as minority enjoyed their freedom and enjoyed their peace in Palestine before the creation of Israel. When Israel was created as an investment for Zionism with a political ideology, the struggle started in our land, in Palestine. 1948, Israel took over almost 78% of the Palestinian territories, and it was recognized by the international community as the State of Israel. What the Israeli government is trying to promote, which is a full propaganda at the moment, that they are entitled for a Jewish state. Jews were living all over Arab countries and Muslim countries, and they were treated equally. Our struggle is not with Judaism, as much as we respect Judaism, Christianity, and as Muslims, because it's clear in the last surah of the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, it says clearly that all Muslims, we respect all messengers, all prophets, and we respect them all equally. So our struggle is not a religious struggle. Our struggle with Israel is to be and not to be. Our struggle with Israel to recognize the Palestinian right, where they are entitled and eligible to practice their freedom and their independency similar to any other nation around the world. Without recognizing this, Israel will never live in peace, they will never enjoy peace, and the Middle East will continue to be unstable and will continue to have the unbalanced relations among the Middle Eastern countries.
Your Excellency, you're right, there seems to be a common misunderstanding, and this notion that everything that's happening, the ongoing conflict, is bred by a religious conflict, right? And it is this indifference and ignorance of the fact that we carry, in our minds, that have led to this belief that this is a matter between two religious groups, or just two clusters of people. And that, I think, Ambassador, thank you for sharing with us that it's not about religion. It's actually about a political struggle. And for those who are still not aware of the real context of history of the conflict, Your Excellency, can you please shed some light on that? Why is it that it has been carried as a religious conflict instead of a political conflict?
Can I just go through a few statistics?
Sure.
That I brought with me today, just to update you on the latest developments. If the issue is a religious struggle, why the Israelis striked the Ahli hospital in Gaza? This hospital is one of the oldest hospitals in Palestine. It was found by a Christian charity foundation. It was found as an infant hospital, start with, basically to look after premature children. If the struggle is a religious struggle, why Israelis will target and strike the Ahli hospital in Gaza? Our Christian community in Gaza is a very small community, about less than 100 Christians living in Gaza. The Israelis strike the church, and there were 16 casualties in the church hit by the Israelis. Why they had to target the church and why they had to target the hospital if it's a religious struggle? An open question.
Makes sense.
What I'm trying just to make it clear to all viewers, to all Malaysians, there is no single square meter in Gaza is safe at the moment. All geography of Gaza, which is very small geography, it's 40 kilometers time 10 kilometers, less than 400 kilometers in Gaza, and it's the highest populated area on earth. 2.3 million people living in this geography. And the Israelis targeted hospitals. If I just go through figures and update you. Of course, every minute is changing. Because this is up until last night. So between last night and today, there are more and more numbers. The Israeli crime continued. The Palestinian bleeding continued. Did not stop up until this minute. There were 6,546 murders in Gaza. 17,439 injured. 1,400 Palestinians were forced to evacuate their residential units. And they moved from north of Gaza to south of Gaza. And even after they moved, they were targeted and they were struck to the new destination they chosen to be. 183 residential units either destroyed completely, 100%, or partially damaged. 28,500 units, it's not eligible to be used by humans. 188 schools were targeted. 77 governmental institutions or offices. 35 mosques. 3 churches. With all these figures, of course, among the schools, there were a number of UNRWA schools. On the schools, they have the United Nations flag, and they were targeted. Of course, these schools were taken as shelters for those who were forced to move out of their residences, believing that the United Nations flag will give them safety, will provide them with safety. But they were targeted under the United Nations flag. And the list is so long, I can continue for hours explaining the targets and the people who are targeted in Gaza. Back to the question, our struggle at the moment, all Palestinians, whether they are Hamas, whether they are Fatah, whether they are not Fatah or not Hamas, everybody, among those who were killed in Gaza, over 2,500 are children below 12 years old. No one can say these are Hamas. Among them, over 1,100 women. Among them, 500 pregnant women. So the Israeli propaganda to the Western world, in particularly, to the United States of America, to UK, to Europe, that they are countering Hamas, which is totally untrue. Totally is a propaganda, was fabricated just to convince the sympathy or to get the sympathy of the Western world to support Israel. That's why the American administration, the UK Prime Minister, many of the European leaders said Israel has the right to defend itself. If Israel has the right to defend itself, what about the Palestinians?
Yes.
Again, our struggle, as I said earlier, did not start just on the 7th of October. As I am coming to the studio today, Israeli army were invading Jenin, which is in the north of the West Bank, and Gaza is in the south.
Yes.
They invaded a hospital, and they invaded the Jenin refugee camp. When the settlers, led by Ben Gvir, the internal security minister of Israel, they invade al-Masjid al-Aqsa. When the Israeli police and Israeli army, the Israeli settlers, spit on Christians in front of the church in Al-Quds, in Jerusalem. So the struggle, not just on the 7th of October, look to the root of the struggle.
Yep.
We have been struggling, we have been fighting, we have been trying all efforts since 1948, for 7.5 decades. We are struggling to achieve one thing. Number one, to convince the international community to recognize our rights. Number two, to achieve what the international community wants from Palestine, the two-state solution. We accepted 22% of historical Palestine to be an independent Palestinian state. There are so many UN resolutions where international community is responsible of implementing on the ground, but Israel are rejecting.
So, Ambassador, you have rightly mentioned the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is an ongoing military and political conflict, and one of the world's longest conflict over the decades, since 1948.
Yes.
So, could you share some insights into the international community on their response on recent attacks in Gaza, and how are they respond to this conflict this time? Because, as you said, we have initiated previously through UN Resolution 3443, and many initiatives have been taken, negotiations, and so on. But what are their take this time?
Listen to me. First of all, let us make it clear to everybody that war, blood, killing is not the solution. Solution is to achieve a comprehensive peace agreement, peace treaty, to enable everybody on the ground in Palestine to live in peace. We have been circulating an action and reaction for ages. We act, Israeli react, Israelis act, Palestinians react. History never starts on the 7th of October. You have, as I said, look to the root of the conflicts. Palestinians in Gaza or in the West Bank are very much united and connected. Late Yasser Arafat clearly stated that no Palestinian state in Gaza and no independent Palestinian state without Gaza. Gaza and the West Bank and Al-Quds is a unity. When we accepted as Palestinian 1967 borders, an international community accepted that to have an independent Palestinian state to live side by side with Israel. This is the only solution to the struggle. Without international community implement resolutions taken by the international community and protect these resolutions and witness the implementation on the ground, peace will never be achieved in the Middle East. Second, the issue of Israel, violation of international law on daily basis. Our Palestinian people are categorized to 4 categories. 1.5 million Palestinians who remained in historical Palestine in their own cities and towns and became Israeli by force, no choice. And they got the Israeli citizenship. But they are treated as second-class citizens in Israel. when Israel promotes itself as a democratic country and they are a human rights protector. Those Palestinians in Israel are treated as second-class citizens, and they are fighting the discrimination in Israel. That's category number one.
Are they allowed to vote?
They are. They vote. And they have representatives in the Israeli Knesset. But when it comes to internal Israeli politics on the ground, they are second-class citizens. Category number two, 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. And they have been under siege since 2007. For 16 years, they have been under siege. The only crossing point, which is Rafah crossing point, which allow Palestinians in and out of Gaza. An international community, through their representatives on the ground, witness this on daily basis. How you can have an open prison, which is Gaza, for 2.3 million Palestinians, witnessed by the international community. They are unable to move in and out without an Israeli permission. Even a humanitarian aids can't go into Gaza without facilitating through Israel. Category number three, more than 3 million Palestinians on the West Bank, and they are struggling and fighting the Israeli occupation. They are struggling and fighting the Israeli settlers' terrorism. They are trying just to enjoy free movement between Jenin and Nablus, between Nablus and Ramallah, between Ramallah and Al-Khalil. They are trying just to practice the Jum'ah prayer, to be free to go to the mosque, Al-Aqsa Mosque, to offer the prayer in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And they are not allowed because of the Israeli checkpoints and the Israeli harassment. And the fourth category, more or less half of our population are living in diaspora as refugees, and they are struggling and fighting for the right of return. Because if any Jew around the globe is eligible to go and live in Israel, why Palestinians are not eligible to go back to their homeland and live in Palestine? Without sorting all of that, Israel tried peace treaties with Egypt, tried peace treaty with Jordan, tried to normalize diplomatic relations with many Arab and Muslim countries, but they will never enjoy peace. They will never live in peace without recognizing the Palestinian rights where they can exercise their freedom and their independence.
It's a living hell while the world, the entire world is watching. And Ambassador, my next question, as the fighting rage on the ground over in Gaza and on the soil, there's also a worldwide exchange and a battle of narratives led by mainstream media, from the BBC right to CNN. And some people believe that the recent attacks were instigated by local militant groups, notably the Hamas. So what is your take on this, on the battle of perspectives, narratives, as well as these beliefs created by the media?
Israelis are brilliant in controlling, influencing international media and social media in general. They control what I call the double M, money and media. With money and media, they can do whatever they want. But those days with the social media, realities are clear. The fabricated, propagandas is not believed anymore. International community follow what's going on through social media, through what is available. And I think we all witnessed protesters and demonstrators in London, as much as in New York, as much in Washington, even in Israel, even all over European capitals, in Paris, in Germany, everywhere, those who are on favor of the Palestinians and in favor of the Palestinian cause. Yes, still many of the governments and the regimes, in particularly in Europe and the American administration, are supportive to Israel. But I think if they go back to their people have something different because they know realities. The stories have been fabricated when 7th of October accident occurred, that Hamas activists had cut 40 heads of Israelis' children, and then this is a fabricated story. Nobody could prove, nobody could have any evidence on that.
There was no verification of that happened. Yeah.
Of course, as an ambassador, I am 100% against the killing of any civilians. I am against any violence against any civilians. But why international community see through one eye only? Why we as Palestinians are victim of double standards? Why we have to continue pay the bill, and when it comes to Israel, automatically Israel accuse whoever speak on favor of Palestine anti-Semitism? Why international community can't be fair with us one time only and treat us equally? Why international community can't force Israel to allow Palestinians to live in peace, to enjoy peace, to be fair with us, to recognize our rights? What is happening at the moment in Gaza, it is not Hamas. Out of the figures I gave you, less than 1% are Hamas activists. The propaganda, Israeli propaganda of convincing the Western world that they are countering Hamas, which is totally untrue. Up until now, Hamas hidden under the ground. So the issue is not Hamas. The issue is Palestine and Palestinians.
Yes.
Palestine and Palestinians are suffering. Palestine and Palestinians are paying the bill. So international community is, most urgently needed to have a brave, strong decision of a ceasefire to stop the bleeding among Palestinians, to stop the state terrorism which is carried out by the Israeli government against Palestine and Palestinians.
Speaking of world community, I think Malaysia, as part of the world population and world community, we have given a lot of assistance, especially through the Humanitarian Trust Fund for the people of Palestine, and also many initiatives we have taken. But from your point of view, from your diplomatic career's point of view, what can Malaysia do more, especially through regional and international organizations such as ASEAN, OIC, GCC, and the United Nations?
Thank you very much. First of all, Malaysia, no one in Palestine or all over the world can question the position of Malaysia towards the Palestinian cause. Malaysia always been supportive, and the message of Malaysia is clear. Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, addressed the international community at the General Assembly at the United Nations. Again, before that, he addressed the international community as well on the Asian Summit in Jakarta. In OIC, the position of Malaysia is very clear. Even in the last visit of Prime Minister to Riyadh, GCC countries with the ASEAN, the message of Malaysia was clear. So no one can question how supportive Malaysia locally, regionally, and internationally. And as an ambassador, I always urged and asked not Malaysia to support Palestine. Malaysia is a very influential country where they can affect neighboring countries among ASEAN, and they are influence country with their international relations among, the international community, that they can help those who do not believe on the justice of the Palestinian cause to support, to change their mind. And I do remember very well as well Tun Mahathir, when he was the Prime Minister, Muhyiddin Yassin, Ismail Sabri, because as I witnessed 4 Prime Ministers since I've been in Malaysia. The position towards Palestine never changed. They all, from my point of view, are freedom fighters for Palestine. So we highly appreciate what they did and what they are doing. International community must recognize our rights. If they are interested to achieve a settlement to allow Middle East countries enjoy peace, they must recognize the Palestinian rights. The core issue of the struggle in the Middle East is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's not the Arab-Israeli conflict. It's not the Muslim-Israeli conflict. It's the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. International community is responsible as a priority now to have an immediate ceasefire to stop the suffering of Palestinians. Second, to have an international peace gathering, peace conference, whatever, and to be serious to put an end to 75 years of suffering for us and for the Israelis. Without that, I don't think the Middle East will enjoy peace.
I think, Ambassador, you have answered my next question. I wanted to ask you if peace is ever possible and achievable between the two states.
Yes.
Right.
If the international community take the
Decisive,
suffering
yeah.
of Palestinians seriously, if they just try for once to take the suffering of Palestinians seriously, get together around the table, war is not the solution. Negotiation is the solution.
Yep.
This is the only way we can achieve a settlement around the table.
I agree. I think we have come to an end
Yes,
of the very exciting, very informative session. Thank you so much.
My last message for the international community
Yes, Ambassador.
and for Malaysians.
Yes.
For Malaysia, our community in Malaysia is about 4,000. About 1,000 were refugees in Iraq and Syria. And because of the war in Iraq and Syria, they ended up in Malaysia. Malaysia is not a host country for refugees. Malaysia is a transit country. So they are here temporarily. But while they are in Malaysia, give them exceptional treatment, enable them to have an income to survive. Let them work. Give them an opportunity to be accommodated to work. They can benefit and give the Malaysian economy.
Sure.
In Malaysia, we have about 1,000 students, Palestinians. Since 7th of October up until now, they lost communications with their families. Prime Minister promised me that they have a project for the students through the universities where they are. I hope that can be implemented to an action where these universities exceptionally look for those Palestinians. But for the international community as well, if Europe and the American administration and their alliances managed and succeeded to act positively and quickly towards the Ukrainian-Russian struggle, why that can't be done for Palestine? Just see us through the two eyes. Don't continue to keep Palestinians victims of double standards. Take an action. Be fair with Palestine and the Palestinians. Put an end to the Palestinian suffering. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
That was a clear and unequivocal message to all Malaysians and our community. And to everyone who is listening, our voices matter, and I believe that our actions can create real change. Now it's time for governments worldwide to unequivocally condemn the Israeli war crimes, and for the international community to send a resounding message to join hands in solidarity with the oppressed. And this is not about taking sides, it's about standing for justice, humanity, and the protection of innocent lives. And we are not going to bring back the pain and the sufferings and the sacrifices, and we're not going to bring back the lives lost or undo the pain. But I trust in our conscience that we know in no reality that genocide, apartheid, and oppression can ever be justified. And with that, we end our session today. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for
Pleasure.
sharing with us and for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
also, I think from MCA's perspective, we will continue with the cause. We are supportive of the Palestinian cause in line with Malaysian government's position. I think what is important is to tell the world, to convince the world of the truth. The truth need to be sent through the public, and I think MCA is in line with that initiative. We want to tell more people, especially the Chinese community, because we are Chinese, a racial-based party. We want more people, like what you rightly mentioned. This Palestinian-Israel conflict is not a conflict of religion. This is a conflict between two nations, two states, two peoples that are still, until today, seeking peaceful solution. So we need to support this cause. It's out of, like what Quin rightly mentioned, this is about humanity, this is about respecting international law, and this is about freedom of a nation.
Malays, Chinese, Indians, all, to me, are Malaysians.
Yes.
And I respect all Malaysians. And from our perspective as Palestinians, united, strong, safe Malaysia serve our objective. Continue to be united, continue to be safe, continue believing in our rights, continue believing in our struggle. We will meet in an independent Palestinian state in Al-Quds together. We pray in the mosque, we pray in the church, we pray anywhere.
Yes.
Palestine for all,
Yes.
and Malaysia for all as well.
We pray for the peace
Yeah.
and also prosperity of Palestinian people.
Yeah.
And it's also a very good experience for all Malaysians to understand and appreciate the meaning of unity.
Yes, and we join you in your prayers, and it's our fervent hope as well that we can achieve that peace and that freedom that we've all been hungered for. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Your
you.
Excellency.